All right, welcome to another Stopping Socialism video. I'm Donald Kendal, joined as always by Justin Haskins. Justin, you recently published this new article on Town Hall titled Revealing the Socialist Radical Revolutionaries Who Have Invaded the George Floyd Protests. So, obviously, everybody knows kind of the stories. If you're not living under a rock, you know what's going on here with the protests and likewise the riots. And I think it's important to kind of make that distinction between the two. So, Justin, I'll let you kind of take it from there. Tell us about this article.
Right. So, as everyone knows, many of the George Floyd protests have at times descended into absolute chaos. And as you said, there's a distinction there between peaceful protests and riots. And at times they've become riots. I mean, there's just no question about that. And in many of those cases, I believe there is a pretty good argument to make that at the heart of that rioting, not the protest, not the peaceful protest, but that at the heart of the rioting is a far left movement. And it's not just necessarily Antifa. You know, you hear that being said. The president has made that comment. The attorney general, Bill Barr, released a statement saying that Antifa and other similar groups are engaging in domestic terrorism. And I think that that's true. But I think that it's just a lot of far left-wing activists who are really angry, trying to sow discord, trying to create chaos in the country because I think they believe it benefits them politically. It helps advance their movement. I think are not 100% behind what we're seeing, but I think that they're absolutely a major component of what's going on in these riots. And I think that the evidence is pretty overwhelming to that effect. And I have a whole bunch of evidence that I list in the Town Hall article. But one of the things is just go to these social media accounts. They have all kinds of social media accounts, various Antifa groups, other left-wing organizations and groups. And you'll see all kinds of really radical material encouraging people to go out and do violent things at these protests. There's an anti-fascists of Reddit page. And Reddit, for those of you who don't go onto Reddit regularly, certain parts of Reddit are just absolutely disturbing places. Yeah. And the anti-fascists of Reddit page, Antifa, of course, being short for anti-fascists, is one of the more just ridiculous parts of Reddit. There was a post that was listed there that was encouraging people to go out into these protests and cause chaos. And it actually was a very well put together, if you could call it that, sort of guide on how to protest and what the different roles of protesting are. And one of the roles listed, there's more than a dozen roles listed. One of the roles listed is fire mage.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this is like the first part of this article that like really like infuriated me. Okay. Because like obviously the people that are protesting, they're legitimately protesting this like absolutely terrible thing that happened. Like they are a very genuine, coming from a very genuine place. Like I get it. I absolutely get it. And then you have these losers on this page, this anti-fascist of Reddit page, talking about it like it's a game, you know, that they're playing like Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah, fire mage, and which the guy describes as those protesters who come prepared to set fires from barricades and throw flammable projectiles. And another one, range soldier, who's defined as protesters who can throw water bottles, umbrellas, and trash to stop police from advancing. It's like, what is this? This isn't a game. This is insanity.
Yeah, without question. And one of the and just to give you a sense of what this community is like, one of the posters responding to that guide that was posted for that we just talked about with fire mage and range soldiers and all of that, said, you know, cops are wearing face masks. You know, we need to get the word out about this. Cops are wearing face masks. We should fill up water balloons with paint to make the masks useless. Throw them at their masks, obviously, to make them useless. And then he says, been trying to spread this for a few days now. So this is the kind of thing that you see, these kinds of conversations that are on these anti-fascist pages. If you go to a variety of different anti-fascist, Antifa Twitter accounts, Facebook pages, other kinds of accounts, you'll see them posting images of them being at these rallies. They'll have posts, instructions, guides, all kinds of different materials spread throughout these different accounts. They're clearly attending these events. And of course, they're wreaking havoc at these events. I don't think there's any question about that. The only question is, to what extent are they doing this? But I do believe it's pretty clear that that's going on. So I think at the very least, it's important to point out that much of the chaos is being caused by groups like Antifa. And I think that the president is exactly right to call them out and to name them. That Attorney General Bill Barr is exactly right, and that they should be investigating Antifa and other related groups, that they are domestic terrorist groups by any definition that the government uses of domestic terrorism. It's very clear that that's what they are. And these guides, these kinds of materials that they're posting on social media, not on every Antifa account, some of them don't speak in the same way, but many of them do. And I think it's pretty clear that they are part of the reason why a lot of these peaceful protests have turned into riots.
Yeah. I think one of the most important parts of your article comes towards the end of it, when you start talking about the people that are identified in the Project Veritas videos, the people that were in the Bernie Sanders campaigns, like I forgot what their actual position titles were, but they were in the Bernie Sanders campaign, like in Iowa and whatnot. And they were caught on video saying the most absolutely terrible stuff. And so do I think that this chaos is in any way to support the actual protests that are going on over George Floyd? I absolutely do not think so. I think that they saw these Antifa types, these ones that are trying to spread chaos or whatever, saw this as an opportunity to try to carry out their political agenda. So because of this, Project Veritas kind of made a little compilation of their people that they exposed back during the primaries under the Bernie Sanders campaign. And they made it like a little montage here. So I'm just going to play a little bit of this so you can get a kind of a taste of what some of these people have said.
I'm an anarcho-communist.
Pretty much anarcho-syndicalism.
There's a lot of me's in the Bernie campaign. If Bernie doesn't get the nomination in Milwaukee,
I mean, just the first one right there. If Bernie doesn't get the nomination, Milwaukee will burn. So this was under I think if you listen to the whole conversation, it was basically like if they go to the DNC, the National Convention, and Bernie Sanders gets screwed out of the nomination, they'll burn down the city. It's just kind of a coincidence, I guess, that Minneapolis was burning down. So it seems like they just, instead of, because Bernie Sanders lost much earlier than they were anticipating, again, they're waiting for their opportunity to try to carry out their agenda. I'll continue this. Sorry.
Just really radical people.
Walk into that MSNBC studios, drag those motherfuckers up by their hair, and light them on fire in the streets.
I'm ready to start tearing bricks up and start fighting.
It's going to take militancy.
I'm already on Twitter following numerous groups around the country that are ready to organize.
Like Antifa, yellow vests, all that, but keep them not in the back burner for right now.
I'll straight up get armed. I want to learn how to shoot and go train.
I canvass with someone who's an anarchist.
I'm an anarcho-communist. I'm as far to the left as you can possibly get.
I canvass with someone who's more of a Marxist-Leninist.
I'm a communist that believes in pretty much anarcho-syndicalism.
Gulags are actually meant for re-education.
A lot of the stories were told in the United States.
I mean, this whole next part just kind of goes into what their real political leanings are, and they're talking about the good of re-education camps and sending people to gulags. And how gulags aren't actually that bad. It's just to teach a billionaire how to be a working class guy or something like that. But if you could sit there and tell me with a straight face that guy talking about how he's got organizations that he follows that are ready to organize and get out on the streets and cause chaos aren't in the streets causing chaos right now. If you could tell me that with a straight face that they're not doing that, I don't think you can do it. I really don't.
Yeah, one of the quotes that I found, and you had referenced the Milwaukee quote, the full quote in context is "effing cities burn." He's referring to what happens if Trump wins re-election. Effing cities burn. I mean, we don't have a lot of time left. We have to save effing human civilization. And then later says, we're going to make 1978, he meant 1968, the riots that occurred in 1968, look like a effing Girl Scout effing cookout. and cops are going to be the ones that are getting effing beaten in Milwaukee. They're going to call out the National Guard for that crap.
Right.
I promise you that. I mean, how has that not happened?
Right.
I mean, how is that not exact? That exact thing has happened without question. And that montage is actually, I think, much more effective than even the individual videos themselves. Because the individual videos are very, very interesting and they have lots of material in it. It shows very clearly that these are very radical people. But most of the videos are not them saying these particular lines that sort of connect to what's happening right now. A lot of it is talking about gulags, talking about communism, it shows very clearly that they're radicals, but just because you have you're an anarcho-communist, as some of these people, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to go out in the street and, burn things down. But when you say you're going to go out in the street and burn things down, that probably means that you're capable of going out in the street and doing that. So when you add them all up, and it's not just one person, it's multiple people, and these are just the people they caught on tape, and they're all in the Bernie Sanders campaign. I mean, and they're all promising this just a few months ago.
Right.
And now here we are and it's happening. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, what more evidence do you possibly need? It's obvious that this is what's going on here to some degree. To what degree exactly, we don't know, because it's chaos in many of these places. But clearly there's something happening here.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
And amazing work by Project Veritas. I think that's important to point out, because they were all over this. I mean, we were all over this too. We've been talking about how radical these people are for a very, very, very long time, but they caught them on tape saying the things that we knew they always believed, but didn't think they were stupid enough to say on a video camera while working for the Bernie Sanders campaign. Sure. And clearly they weren't as smart as some people on the left would have liked to hope they were.
No doubt. It's absolutely insane. I get it. I get the protests. We fully support people's rights to protest. When you start burning down stores and looting stores, it starts to get a little bit hairy. And again, I really think that the movement, which I think is a genuine movement, I really do, has been co-opted by these people that have these vicious political agendas. And then this was just their opportunity to carry out the things that they promised that they were going to do, like Justin said just a few months ago. So, Justin, any last words? I'll say that people that can check out more videos like this, Stopping Socialism TV on YouTube, you can find our videos and more content and like articles that Justin writes and whatnot on stoppingsocialism.com. It's also our Facebook page, Stopping Socialism. We also have an Instagram account. Justin, last words.
Yeah, I think that I just want to reiterate, because we really didn't get a chance to go into this. This wasn't really meant to be a sort of a long discussion about the protests in general. Sure. But I do want to reiterate that, Donald and I are libertarian leaning guys. And we don't like government having too much power. And we're always concerned about government having too much power. And so there's a very large part of me that sympathizes with people who are also concerned with that. People have a tendency to forget that the police are the government and they have a lot of power. They have a lot of authority. Not every police officer is a terrible human being or racist or anything like that. And we fully understand that. We're definitely not saying that. But are there some reforms that could happen that would benefit everybody involved? Yeah, probably. There probably are some reforms, and these police departments and these states and these localities need to put those reforms in place. We are all for it. But regardless, that is not the focus. That is not the concern of the people who are on these Project Veritas videos. They don't care about that at all. They don't care about George Floyd. They don't care about injustices. They don't care about any of that. They care about advancing their mission to radically transform the United States of America. That is all they care about. And that is why they are using these protests, which are about something that has nothing to do with anarcho-communism, to promote anarcho-communism. That's why they're doing that, because this is a vehicle through which they can advance their radical agenda. So they are not on anyone's side other than their own. I mean, they do not care about anything other than their own mission and goal. And I think it is important to point that out because a lot of people have a tendency to want to just lump everybody into one camp here. And that's not what's going on at all. And that's why we spend so much time trying to pinpoint that down and talk about this specific group of people, because they are having a huge effect on this conversation in a very negative way.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. That is definitely an important thing to point out. All right. Fantastic. Justin, where can the people find you?
At Justin T. Haskins, Facebook and Twitter.
All right. Thank you all. And we will talk to you later.